we're back covering the Cal baseball draft picks for this year. Again, we're here with Justice De Los Santos. He's in Oakland right now at the Coliseum. I am in Berkeley in my room packing up, which is why you see these boxes behind me. But let's get into it. Darren Baker, drafted 293rd overall in the 10th round, a second baseman from Granite Bay, California. He was senior, the only senior from Cal drafted this year. He went to the Washington Nationals, the ball club that his father managed fairly recently. So he was also drafted by them in 2017 out of high school in the 27th round, but didn't sign. He's about as decorated of a college player as you can find, especially out of Cal. He was all Pac-12 first team this year. He was a two-time all-defensive team in the Pac-12 in 2019 and 2021. He was a Baseball America preseason All-American along with Grant Holman. He's one of the most decorated players in recent Cal memory, and Justice had the opportunity to cover him in his freshman and sophomore year, I believe, which is really when he started to get his first looks in college baseball.
Yeah, and a little known fact about Darren Baker, he's also Filipino, so I got to make sure that I bring that into the mix because it's not a really well known fact, but I gotta make sure we gotta make sure the Filipinos are here represented. But yeah, you kind of hit it on the head. He's in terms of 4-year college guys, he's as decorated as they come. And actually, a funny story is that I was actually there. I was in attendance, Game 5. 2002, the Darren Baker game. I was 4 years old, but I was in attendance. If you're gonna ask me for what I remember it, I don't remember a single thing. But I've seen that clip countless times with JT Snow just like yanking him up. And I don't think we ever had the chance to talk about it, but it's just one of those moments where it's like, oh, that's crazy. Like I was there, he was there, and it's like, here we are, like however many years later.
Yeah, that clip is so funny. I think I saw a video of like an interview of JT Snow interviewing Darren Baker in like his freshman year, talking about that moment, and I don't think Baker remembered a moment of it. He was just like doing his job, getting out there, and JT Snow scored a game tying run or something, and
it was a blowout at that point. It was 16-4.
Oh yeah, that is not a game tying run.
What was it? I think Kenny Lofton like triples into the out. It was something like that, something to that effect. I remember that became the Darren Baker rule too. It was like at that point, it was like bad boys had to be a certain age after that because they didn't want another Darren Baker incident.
That's so funny. And I mean, like we mentioned, that was when Dusty was I don't think he was the manager of those Giants teams. He was the manager?
He was the manager of that team from 93, which was the 103 win team when they didn't make the playoffs, to I want to say 2002, actually. Yeah, because 2003 he was managing that Cubs team with the infamous Cubs team that lost to the Marlins. Without kind of getting to that rabbit hole, but yeah, he was there for a minute, and then he kind of bounced from team to team from there. So now he's currently managing for America's favorite team.
Yeah, the Houston Astros. And I mean, you had a pretty cool moment with Dusty earlier this year, right? Over Zoom.
Yeah, it was. I want to say it was May, and this was back when, the majority of games that I was covering was from home. And I remember I forgot who they were playing, but I remember Carlos Correa hit a homer, and he kind of been struggling. So the question that I asked Dusty that afternoon or that evening, whatever it was, how good does it feel for, Correa, given his struggles to kind of be heating up here. And when I was asking that question, I was wearing a Cal hat, and it wasn't just a Cal hat either. I want to give a shout out to my homie Danny. It was a thrifted one. It was kind of like a lighter shade of blue. I asked the question, and then he's like, "Oh, it was good." And then he says, unprompted, and "I'm glad you got that Cal hat on because I'm not Clark Kent." And then he unbuttons his shirt and he like pulls out, like he does the Superman where he pulls his jersey, and he said, "But I got my Cal gear on too." And maybe I'm gonna send you that clip. Maybe we can throw that clip in here too. But it was that's definitely one of my favorite moments of covering the game this year, covering any game this year. It might be my favorite moment the entire year, honestly.
Yeah, I remember seeing that on Twitter, and we'll definitely get the clip in here post edit. But I didn't even know Justice at that point, but just had been following Cal baseball and saw that. And then my girlfriend was like, "Oh my God, I know that guy. He used to cover Cal baseball." And yeah, so nice little moment. Yeah, and I
Barstool Sports
mean,
retweeting my stuff though. They posted my stuff on that Instagram and they didn't ask me for it. So,
ooh,
that's
some IP there.
it's they got run me my money for that, honestly.
Yeah, got to cut you off a check for real. But yeah, back to Baker, son of Dusty, 12th most wins in MLB history. So I thought there wasn't any way that he wasn't going to go undrafted. And he goes to the Nationals again, which I thought was interesting. I wonder how many times you see like a team draft a guy right out of high school and then get him again like after he goes to college or whatever. So I thought that was really cool. I don't know if you
that was something that
like
I kind of knew he was going to get drafted, but for him to get drafted by the Nationals, it was kind of one of those, oh, that's interesting. It kind of wasn't any more than that. I was like, oh, that's like an interesting little note. He did get drafted by the Nationals, gets drafted again out of college. So maybe they just kind of had like the information for him.
And yeah, I think again, this is a guy that they got a ton of value for him. He signed at the slot, like he signed his signing bonus, which was what it was valued at slot, $146,000. And I think that is a steal. He again had a hell of a career at Cal, especially this season. In 2021, he hit 327, which was among the highest in Pac-12. He stole 28 bases in 2021, which was eighth in all of college baseball. Played every game for Cal. He had an insanely high fielding percentage, so smooth at second base. And in between this year and last season in 2020, he reached base safely in 42 straight games. Although he broke this streak, he still reached in 44 out of 45 games in 2021. And with an on-base percentage of 402, I think these project well for his type of play style moving forward into Major League Baseball, and will definitely be a part of that rebuilding core that Washington is building up now.
Yeah, it is. It is definitely a rebuilding core. Juan Soto is kind of like the Will Smith standing alone meme. Because it's like Trey Turner's not there,
True.
Max Scherzer. I know Strasburg and Corbin are still there, but it's not the same team that won the chip. But it's kind of the one thing that's really interesting to me about Darren is that him and his dad are almost entirely polar opposites when it comes to like how they play. Because Dusty, he was more on the power hitting side. He was actually part of that Dodgers team in, I'm probably going to get this wrong, I want to say 78. That's probably wrong, but it was a Dodgers team that had 4 guys hit 30 home runs. So Dusty was one to provide the pop in the lineup. And Darren Baker only had 1 career homer at Cal. And I don't remember he was even over the fence. I think it might have been inside the Parker. I don't remember that specifically, but Darren is kind of one of those really old school style second baseman in that he isn't going to hit for a lot of power, but he's going to provide you with a lot of value in pretty much every other facet of the game. You mentioned the fielding percentage. The baseball nerd in me really wishes that there was like defensive runs saved in college, because I could have imagined he would have just been like racking those up on a daily basis. And I think even back in, I want to say it was the 2019 summer, I believe when he was playing in Cape Cod, he even played a little bit of center field. Well, okay, if I'm remembering right, he played like 1 inning of center field in the Cape Cod game. In the All-Star game.
Yeah.
So that could potentially be an area for him as well if the Nationals and if Baker wants to buy into having that opportunity to be as versatile as possible, which if we talk about like in terms about providing maximum value, that's an area for him as well potentially. I don't know if we'll explore that, but that area, like he definitely has the athleticism to do that. And he's going to slap the ball over the field. He's going to rack up stolen bases, and overall just like a really fun guy to watch. He's going to be like, he kind of projects as maybe more of like that old school number 2 guy, someone that does have some speed, someone that can get on base. And I'm really just interested to kind of see how it's going to play out, because it feels like he does enough, like even with the 10th round slot, it kind of feels like he does enough things, provides enough value and enough facets to get a player at the major league level. And I think it's honestly going to, more than anything, it is going to come down to his ability to still be able to hit at a high clip and be able to see if he can continue that trend that emerged this season of him being able to draw more walks and get on base more consistently.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, he seems like a player that doesn't belong in 2021, to be honest. Like a guy that doesn't really strike out. He has good at bats. He gets on base. He slaps the ball all over the field without really having a power stroke. He honestly reminds me a lot of a guy in the Oakland in the A's organization, Nick Allen, who great defensively, very athletic guy, but just doesn't have the power stroke. And I think that still has a spot in baseball today. I mean, it's interesting. I think he should be coming up pretty soon. I mean, a 4-year decorated college star out of Power 5 school. He has a way to the big league roster, and I wouldn't be surprised if we saw him very soon.
He is an aggressively 70s, 80s infielder. Like in terms of, because there's the baseball stereotypes. It's like you got the first baseman that can hit for power, the center fielder that has like a lot of speed, the right fielder that's got power and an arm. He is like aggressively stereotypical 70s, 80s middle infielder, and that's kind of what is intriguing to me about him, just for his ability to kind of understand, like have an understanding of who he is as a player and what type of value he can provide, and to be able to provide that. Also, another point that I want to include before we switch up from Baker to Villers here is at least back in 2019 when I was covering him, he had a Louis Vuitton shin guard. I just wanted to make sure that I concluded it. It was like the bands itself. I asked him about it. It was like the bands were like Louis Vuitton. So that I just need to make sure that we got that in there. That's the real point to drive this one home.
That is a great point to drive it home. And like Justice set up so nicely for me, we'll go ahead and go with Ian Villers next. I did it out of order. I got really excited to talk about Baker, so that's on me. Villers was actually drafted before Baker in round 8, pick 236, to the San Francisco Giants as a right-handed pitcher. He's 6'6", 20 years old. He's a junior from Walnut Creek. I don't know if I mentioned that. Big kid. He came out of the pen this year and the rest of his time here at Cal. He had a few starts as an opener, which I thought was pretty interesting. I haven't really seen that at the college level until, I believe, this year. But again, a guy drafted out of high school. He was drafted by my team, the San Diego Padres, and of course he didn't sign and ended up going to Cal and signing with the rival San Francisco Giants. So that's just so wonderful. But hey, he bet on himself and it paid off. And you gotta love that. He is very similar build to Holman, big guy, overpowering four-seam fastball that consistently touches around 95, 96. He has this gross sweeping slider that just tunnels so well with the fastball, and you could really see just developing that heavily with the Giants moving forward in his career. But yeah, do you remember anything about